Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be back again. If you guys were here last time, thank you so much for coming back. If this is your first one of my three-part series, welcome. I'm happy to have you. Don't worry if you weren't at the first one. You can catch back up if you need to, and you'll get some good stuff out of today, even if you weren't here for the first one. So do not worry about that. So let's get started. We're going to jump right in to our workshop tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to share my screen. I'll lose the chat, so I won't be able to see your questions, but write any questions that you have, please, in the chat box, and I will definitely get to them at the end. So let's get going. Okay. So we're going to jump back into our series called Building a Foundation of Health in 2021. So this is the second part of our series called Your Daily Plate, and we're going to talk about the template for healthy, balanced meals. Again, if you missed that first part of the series, do not worry. You can catch it on the Girls Night Live Facebook page. It will be on their website. There are definitely ways to catch back up on that one. And today we'll still have fun, even if you weren't here for the first one. Don't worry about that. So let's get going. A little bit of background about me. My name is Audrey Hassey. I am a registered dietitian. I'm a personal trainer, and I'm the owner of Rooted Nutrition. I have a bachelor's of science in exercise and sports science from Ursinus College and a master's degree in sports nutrition and exercise science from Mary Wood University. And as I was working as a trainer after college, I started to realize just how important diet was to really help my clients reach their health and fitness goals. So I took myself back to school, became a dietitian so that I could really learn all that there was to learn about nutrition so I could best help my clients and the people that I worked with really find optimal health. And now I'm a wife and a mom to two young kids, and I work every day to find the balance of being a mom and fueling my passion for sharing about all things healthy with the people around me and the people that I work with. At Rooted Nutrition now, I run a nutrition and healthy lifestyle coaching business where I work one-on-one with clients very closely to help them reach their goals. And I provide them guidance and feedback and accountability, which is a really big piece of the puzzle that they need to make healthy changes that are realistic for them and that are going to last. So in the first part of this series, we went back to basics. We talked all about what to eat to fuel your healthy life. Again, you can go back and catch that if you need to, but we talked about how to start laying a foundation of health from which you can build your healthiest life. And we focused on the foods that we eat and went back to basics on really what constitutes a healthy diet. So we talked about where we get calories from on a really basic level. And I let you in on the big secret that the diet industry does not want you to know about how to create a balanced diet using my acronym PHFC, which we'll go over a little bit in just in a couple of minutes, but it stands for protein, healthy fats, and high fiber carbohydrates. And we talked about each component, some healthy options of each, why they're important. And then we finished up by talking about why eating in this healthy, balanced PHFC way is important to help build that strong foundation of health. And if you remember from last time, this was the pyramid that we started with. So we're starting here again today. So at the tippy top of this pyramid is your healthiest life, right? It's optimal health. And at the bottom is the foundational work that has to be done to create your healthiest life in a realistic and sustainable way. And that's where we started last week. And we talked about creating those real food roots and laying that foundation through the food that you eat. So this week, we're going to take all of that knowledge that we talked about and we're going to build on it. We're going to take it up to the next level as we talk about our habits and our behaviors and our choices around food and how they ultimately affect the healthy life that you get to live. We're going to talk about the template for a healthy meal and take that PHFC balance to the next level as we go over how to actually apply it to everyday life, how to create a plate of food and healthy, balanced meals every single time. And then we'll talk about creating a week of food as we get into meal planning and meal prepping and how all of that translates into a lifestyle as we talk about how to take that template and apply it to any area of your life. If it's going out to eat or social situations or holidays or travel, etc., so that you can create a lifestyle that's realistic and sustainable for you and your unique needs. So I'm excited to get started. So let's go. Okay, so just to recap really briefly, I want to talk a little bit about what this whole PHFC thing stands for. It's the template that I use to help people understand in a really simple way what composes a healthy diet. It stands for protein, healthy fat, and high fiber carbohydrates. along with alcohol, these are the 4 macronutrients, and they're the only places that you're getting calories or fuel for your bodies from. So when we talk about building this foundation of health, we have to start with this real food foundation first, and balancing our meals with protein, fat, and fiber is really the best way to do that. By using this template, balancing these foods at every meal, you're going to be able to fuel your body really well, stay fuller longer, be satisfied by your meals, nourish your body with the nutrients that it needs, and prevent blood sugar crashes, spikes, and cravings between meals that are going to cause you to be hungry all the time or, crave high sugar, starchy, less healthy options. So before we get into putting this into practice, it's important to talk about the quality of the foods that we choose and the foods that we want to maximize and minimize in our diets. So we really want to focus on maximizing the real food roots. That means the baseline normal diet, the foods that you typically eat on a daily basis, are real, whole, nutrient-dense foods. Yes, you can deviate from that, of course, from time to time, but you always come back to these real food roots. It's the foods that our bodies were created to eat and to use as fuel and to thrive off of. Foods that were grown in the ground, they're found in nature, they're whole, they're unrefined, they're unprocessed, and they're packed with nutrients that are going to nourish and sustain you. So as you start to create these real food roots, there are foods that really start to no longer fit into that category, or they don't really have a place in that kind of PHFC world anymore. So these are the foods that we definitely want to minimize or avoid completely or save for things like indulgences every once in a while. And those are things like added and refined sugars, processed foods and drinks, artificial ingredients and additives, artificial sweeteners. And then, as you kind of get into the nitty gritty a little bit more, finding out foods that you're sensitive to and avoiding inflammatory foods, which tend to be a lot of the ones that I just mentioned, like the ultra processed, the refined foods. So you'll notice as you do really start to focus on eating more PHFC balanced, that these foods that we're talking about minimizing, they don't really fill any of those boxes anymore. They're not real food. They're not good sources of protein. They're not really a healthy fat. They're not high fiber carbs. So they do tend to get crowded out pretty organically as you start to focus on more balanced, more healthier options. So we want to minimize these so that we can focus on making the foods that we do eat as nutrient dense as possible and getting the most out of what we're eating. And I do, of course, want to note that, yes, I am a dietitian, but I'm not your dietitian. So I don't know your specific needs. I don't know your specific medical history, but everything that I'm saying is really just general healthy guidelines that are going to benefit most people. So, of course, always check with your doctor, your dietitian, come up with a plan that meets your specific needs, but know that everything we're going over in this series is meant to just be helpful tips for just a general healthy lifestyle. So let's practice, okay, right? So this is now the fun part. Let's take all of the things that we've learned and put in some realistic practice. Let's build a plate of food, a balanced plate of food. And that's what this is all about. We can know what we should do all day long, but we have to know how to do it. So this applies to any meal that you make. If it's a plate, a bowl, a smoothie, a soup, whatever it is, this template's going to apply. And no, you're not counting, you're not weighing, you're not measuring anything. You're just balancing your plate of food with protein, healthy fats, and high fiber carbs in this way, and just seeing kind of how you feel. See how it changes how you feel throughout your day. So what you're going to do is take your plate of food, right? And that plate of food, you're going to divide it in half. And half of that plate should be non-starchy veggies. That's things like asparagus and broccoli, cauliflower, cucumbers, greens, lettuce, peppers, peppers, colorful variety of colorful vegetables. So last week I gave you a list that had not a comprehensive list, but a pretty good list of some good sources of each of these proteins, fats, and fibers. So that's a good place to start for coming up with some good options for these. But half of the plate should be those non-starchy veggies. That's your bulk of what you're going to eat. And then a quarter of your plate is protein. Things like chicken, fish, beef, eggs, pork, beans. Good quality protein should make up a quarter of your plate. And then the last quarter of your plate should be starchy carbs. So that's things like potatoes and sweet potatoes and beets, carrots, squash, beans, quinoa, whole grains. These are good sources of starchy carbs. So that should make up the last quarter of your plate. And then when you think about healthy fat, that's almost like a garnish on top. So think about finishing your meal with fat or cooking your meal in extra virgin olive oil. So things like avocado, salad dressing, mayo, nuts, olive oil, full fat dairy. These things are healthy fats that you can use to almost finish or garnish your meal. So that's our plate. That's it. All three components on every plate every time. And that's going to keep you fuller longer. It's going to keep your meals satisfying you and really nourish your body to give it the fuel that it needs to get you from meal to meal to meal without, being hungry between, having to munch in between, with good energy in between. This is what you want that plate to look like. So the goal really, I always get the question, well, what about snacks? What should I have for snacks? When should I have snacks? How many snacks? The goal really is to be doing such a good job balancing your meals and eating enough that they hold you over for about 4 or 5 hours until your next meal. If that's the case and you're eating the proper amount, the proper balance, a really good way to know that you're getting it right is that you really don't need any snacks. You shouldn't be hungry between your meals if you're really balancing them properly and eating the right amount. But I get it. Like life happens, of course. It's like timing of workouts is weird. Class goes a little longer, or meetings go long, or, some days you're just hungrier than others, whatever. Like life happens, and sometimes you need a snack. Totally fine. So, how do you do it? When you talk about snacks, right? If you have all three components, protein, fat, and fiber, that's fantastic. That's great. But fats can just be one or two of these components too. So, protein and fat. Protein can stand alone, fat can stand alone, but carbs are a little different. Carbs, I like to say, always need a friend. Always pair your carb with a friend. Don't eat carbs alone. So think about an apple. If you have an apple, right, you eat the apple, you're hungry like 20 minutes later. It didn't really do much for you. So pair that apple with protein or fat, like a hard boiled egg or almond butter or peanut butter, so that it starts to help really slow down that blood sugar release, which is one factor, so that you're not getting those big cravings and crashes. And it helps to just balance the snack out a little bit more to help fill you a little bit longer so that you're not hungry very quickly after that snack. Again, pair your carbs with a friend, but the others can kind of stand alone a little bit. And then before we get into the next topic, which is going to be meal planning and meal prepping, I do want to go back to the focus of today, which was our habits, our choices, our behaviors around food, right? Balancing your meals, meal planning, meal prepping, ordering at restaurants. These are all choices, habits, and behaviors that are really important to a successfully sustaining a healthy lifestyle. They can all be changed. They can all be improved upon no matter where you are in your health journey. So we focused on that food aspect of our roots last week, but this is a little bit of a shift over to the mind aspect. So it's an acknowledgement that you have to start owning your mindset when it comes to your health, right? Digging into your why or your intention behind why you're doing what you're doing, why you're making the choices that you do around food, and why you've created certain habits. So before you change any of your choices or any of your habits or behaviors around food and health in general, there has to be a conscious choice to really start honoring your body with the food that you put in it and truly just doing what's best for your body and giving it what it needs to thrive. Or a realization that you really are in control of what you eat and a decision to do what's best for your body. And it might mean putting in a little more time, a little more effort, carving out time that you really didn't prioritize before, or having some conversations with yourself about why you deserve to do what's best for you and for your health and why you're worth the effort. But in order to change those behaviors around food, you have to become aware of your current habits and break old habits and make new ones. You have to start really consistently making different, healthier choices and allowing those small individual choices to add up to a new routine or a new lifestyle. So one of those habits, when we talk about habits, right, is meal planning. So we know now how to take our PHFC template and make a plate of food. We know which foods we want to incorporate into our diets. So let's apply it to a day, right? Or even better, a week, let's say, of meal planning. It's one of my favorite things to talk about because it's such like a silly, easy way to make your week so much easier. It takes all of like 10 minutes, but the payoff is huge. Like if we talk about a return on investment here, meal planning is a big one. And I'm sure you all have calendars for your week, right? They're full of things to do for your week. They're organized for your schedule, maybe for your family's schedules. And why? Because without it, you wouldn't know what to do. You might miss appointments or feel out of control, feel stressed, feel all over the place. But with your calendar, you know you have a meeting at 3 on Wednesday, so you go to your meeting at 3 on Wednesday and you don't really think about it. Meal planning is the same exact way. It's the weekly calendar for your meals. Without it, you don't have a clue what you're eating. You end up eating out of convenience rather than health. You end up kind of eating whatever's there because it's there. You're stressed about mealtime. You're all over the place. But when you know you're having, let's say, like white chicken chili for dinner on Wednesday, you have white chicken chili for dinner on Wednesday. And maybe you even prepped it on Sunday, which is like a double win. There's no stress. There's healthy meals. It's a beautiful thing. So why is meal planning such an important tool, right? Because it is a habit. It's a habit that sets the tone and the intention for your entire week. After you plan, all you really have to do is execute that plan and set yourself up for a successful week. Some of the other reasons why I love it, in addition to the fact that it only takes a couple minutes and the payoff is so huge, it saves you so much time during the week. It gives you the freedom to actually enjoy mealtime rather than stress about it and be rushing around about mealtime. If you're cooking for other people, it gives them a chance to join in on the planning and suggest things that they want to eat, maybe giving them a little more buy-in and ensuring that they'll actually eat what you make. It gives you a chance to create healthy, balanced meals without rushing around last minute, without throwing things together or like eating out of the container, out of the fridge and calling that dinner. Am I the only one that does that? Okay, so it saves you money, which is also a really big one, because you only buy what you need and you eat leftovers really strategically. And of course, my favorite reason of all the reasons, you don't have to think about what to make for dinner during the week, which is like a beautiful, wonderful thing. So how do you do it, right? Here's my checklist. This is my easy checklist for meal planning. First, you have to actually set aside a little bit of time to do it, like 10 minutes. Set aside, ideally uninterrupted, a couple of minutes to sit down with a piece of paper and a pen. Use the notes on your phone or whatever you want to use. I've actually created a meal planning template for you, so you guys are going to get access to that, so you can use that too. But start by breaking down your week into 5 days. You can do 7 days if you want. I usually do the weekdays. And then 3 meals with a few snack options if you need them. And think through your upcoming schedule for the week ahead. And then in each meal, you're going to write down protein, healthy fat, high fiber carbs, PHFC in each little box, and fill in those blanks with whatever you're going to eat. And then get inspired right then. Find some blogs, find some old recipes that you haven't tried in a while. Write down what you're going to have for the week. Jot down a shopping list at that moment and based on your meals so that you can go to the store right then and there. You can order your groceries right then online. However you get your stuff, do it right then. And then all you have to do is just execute your plan all week long. So I'm actually going to show you now how I meal plan. So let me go for my whiteboard here. Okay, so let's say we'll just do one day. We'll call this day Monday. And let's say we have, you would just write down breakfast, lunch, we'll save the snacks, but we'll do in each kind of box you're going to have your breakfast, PHFC. You're going to have your lunch, PHFC. And your dinner, same thing. And this just gives you a little guidance to make sure you got all the pieces there. Everybody's at the party that you need. So let's say for breakfast, you're having some sprouted whole grain toast with some mashed avocado and some eggs. Sounds good. And then for lunch, let's say you're going to have a salad with, let's say salad with lots of veggies on top. This is not very specific, but you get what I'm saying. Lots of veggies and some roasted sweet potato. Sounds good. And you're going to have some avocado. Maybe you'll have some nuts on top and some feta. And your dressing. I would try to spell vinaigrette right now, but I would totally butcher it. So I'm just going to write dressing. And then for your protein, you're going to have some grilled chicken. And then dinner, let's say it's like a fun weekend and you want to have some wings. So you're going to have some baked wings, you'll have some, well, that they have some fat in them. So you're doing those in olive oil in the oven, and then you're gonna have some roasted fries. I don't know, just made something up. Sounds pretty good, but you get the picture. So this is where you're gonna start to really plan out your week, making sure you have all those components in each and every meal. Super simple, super easy. And then underneath, what I would do is just write my shopping list right then and there. I know I need wings. I know I need some potatoes. I know I need some sweet potatoes. Write down your shopping list then and there so you don't forget anything. Okay, so let me go back to here. Here we are. Our slides. Okay. So again, I have a meal planning template for you, which is going to, make it really easy to keep this organized and to kind of get you guys started. And then I also have for you, which I'm excited about, is a 3-day meal plan with lots of recipes in there, something sweet in there too. Don't worry, I didn't forget the chocolate. There's breakfast, there's lunch, there's dinner, and again, a little something sweet in there to give you guys a really good idea of how to get started with all of this. There's some good recipes in there. They're all balanced. They're all really tasty. And then if you need more inspiration, on my website, I have my full meal plan, which has about a month's worth of recipes in there. So go and check that out as well. And that's a really good place to start to get you, started on this healthy meal planning. So meal prepping then. Some healthy tips on meal prepping. You got your plan. Now you have to do something about it. You have to prep your stuff. You got all your stuff from the grocery store. Let's do something with it. The first thing I would say is to prep in bulk at the beginning of your week. So what that means is make big batches of things at once, right? So you don't have to do it multiple times throughout the week. If you plan for meals with the same proteins, that's actually a really helpful way to make your week a lot easier. So for example, right, you make a bunch of chicken thighs on Sunday. You can do a lot of different things with those chicken thighs. You can put them on salad. You can eat them with roasted veggies. You can make a chicken salad, add it into some chickpea pasta. It's really versatile. You only have to make the chicken thighs once, but you can use them in a lot of different ways so you don't get bored. And then think about things that are going to hold really well for a few days. So if you think about like a green salad, if you made that like on Sunday and then tried to eat it on Wednesday, it'd be like really funky. So think about things that are going to hold really well. Like if you have a kale salad, that's going to do a lot better than a leafy green salad, or things like soups and stir fries and roasted veggies, or quinoa salads or chicken salads. These all do really well throughout the week. And then take into account what your week really is going to look like. If you know that something does need to be made right before, factor that in. Factor that into your week on the day that you know you're going to be home from work early, or whatever the case may be for you. Do as much ahead of time as you can so that all you really have to do for mealtime is just take some stuff out of the fridge and eat it. And yes, of course, plan A is always meal prepping. It's like, of course, if this was an ideal world, we would all be prepped and planned and everything would be perfect. But that's not always going to be the case. If it fails, your good intentions don't, if they fail, it's okay, which at some point they probably will. Have a backup plan in place. Your week got crazy. You couldn't go to the grocery store. What are you going to do? Think through these scenarios. Have your plan B ready so that you don't fall back into old habits. So do things like stock your freezer with good things that you've made big batches of soup, or, whatever the case may be. Stock your pantry with things that are really simple, easy, go-to, healthy options. And then if your reality just doesn't leave room for meal prepping, that's okay. Create a different plan that works for you. If you know you won't be able to do your meal prep, find really good go-to spots where you can get some good takeout that you know is healthy, or use some of those fun meal delivery kits that have like really healthy ingredients, really good recipes, and flavors that you wouldn't typically, make on your own. There's always a way, right? You just have to start thinking outside of the box and outside your normal routine to start creating new habits. And yes, that is all, again, nice and easy in the comfort of your own home when you are in control of the meals that you're making. But what about when real life happens? Or, when you go and you travel, or you go on vacation, or you go out to eat, you go to someone's house. How do you stick to this healthy routine when you're at the mercy of your situation? The first thing I would say is think ahead and BYOS, bring your own stuff. If it's a travel situation, pack your own snacks. So bring things that you know are going to hold really well. but bring things that are healthy go-tos like bars and snacks and fiber crackers and collagen powder for a little protein boost. These things all travel really well and can kind of take you to fill in the blanks of the situation when you're not really in control of what you're eating. If you go to someone's house, offer to bring a dish and make something you know that you want to eat. At holiday parties or social situations, make yourself a plate of food, right? A PHFC, but take one plate, make yourself a plate of PHFC balanced food, eat it, enjoy it. That way you know what you ate rather than kind of standing around grazing all night, taking bits and pieces here and there. And then again, always fall back on that template for your healthy plate. But most importantly, indulge when it's worth it. If it's the holidays or birthdays or it's something special that you love and you only get it once in a while, eat it, enjoy it. Give yourself permission to indulge and let go of that guilt or that stress around these situations. And then if you do that, you simply find yourself back at your PHFC balanced meal the next time around, the next meal that you have. So let's talk about going out to eat for a second. There's like a lot of takeout going on right now, not as much going to restaurants, but like in case you're getting some takeout, let's talk about this because it can be a challenge, right? Portion sizes can be huge. We want our favorite meals when we go certain places. Sometimes they're not the healthiest options. Sometimes the menu doesn't even really have a lot of healthy options. So how do you find this balance, right? How do you use this template when you're going out to eat? In an ideal world, again, maybe you're ordering something like a piece of fish, a side of veggies, a salad with a nice piece of protein on top, but sometimes it's just not reality. So here's what I would suggest doing. The three things. The first thing is I always tell people, look at the menu before you go and pick out what you think you want to have. Pick a good, healthy option so that you don't get there and like panic order because like the waiter's standing there, you're like stressed out and you got to order something. Pick what you want before you go. Easy, simple, no pressure. The second thing is then stick to one starchy carb serving. So remember that was like the little quarter of our plate. You had the non-starchy carbs, you had your protein, and then you had your starchy carb. Stick to one serving there. Things like pasta, bread, rice, potatoes, fries, chips, things like that. If you want that starchy carb to be the bread before your meal, because it's the best bread ever, great, have the bread before the meal, and then stick to protein and veggies for your dinner. If it's pasta's a big one. Like sometimes they give you this plate of pasta that could feed like a family of 4. You have to be able to say, okay, what does a quarter of my plate actually look like in terms of pasta? Stick to a quarter of the plate and then focus on protein and veggies for the rest of your meal. Same thing with like a rice-based dish. If it's a burger, have the bun, but maybe have a side salad, steal a few fries from your friend, you move on. Or if you want the fries, skip the bun, have a lettuce wrap, enjoy the fries. Just be really flexible with it and try to think about where you want to kind of spend that serving of carbs, of starchy carb. That way you still get to enjoy your meal, you still get to enjoy your favorite things while maintaining some sort of balance. And then this applies to holidays, vacations, office parties, whatever. Start being really mindful of the composition of what you're eating and then work to balance it out, making sure you have tons of veggies, you have some good quality protein, and you have a high fiber carb in there somewhere, some healthy fat going on. And again, give yourself permission to enjoy the foods that you love when it's worth it. And that's actually where we're going next week. So in 2 weeks, not next week, in 2 weeks, on the 26th, we're going to talk all about truly just living your healthiest life, making these changes that are going to last. And we're going to go over how to make changes that are realistic, sustainable, and how to find that balance of eating healthy foods while still indulging and having your favorite things without guilt. We'll go over some healthy swaps for everyday foods that are going to make a big difference while still ensuring that you're enjoying the foods that you're eating. And then my favorite part that we're going to do next week or in 2 weeks, sorry, I keep saying next week, in 2 weeks, is that we're going to do what I'll call like a mealtime audit. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you typically eat for your meals. And then I want to give you feedback on how I would suggest kind of balancing out those meals a little bit better. So just as a reminder, I have for you your meal planning template, your 3-day meal plan, all for you guys to check out. And then again, you can find my full meal plan on my website for even more healthy inspiration if you need that. So I'm going to go ahead and check out the questions now. Hopefully you guys have some good questions. If you have questions from last time too that we didn't get to, please feel free to write them in there as well. And we can go over whatever questions you have. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and check out the questions. All right, let me scroll back up here. So yeah, everything will be emailed to you at the end of the workshop. If you're looking for something, if it's not working, if you can't click on something, it'll be in an email as well. I have trouble finding quick breakfast recipes and I work full-time in the AM. Are there quick recipes to fix in the morning? Yes. So quick recipes to fix in the morning. A really easy morning thing is actually to prep something ahead of time. So say you on Sunday, you have a couple extra minutes and you could prep something. A few things that I love that are really easy to prep. Hard-boiled eggs are really simple to prep. And then like a piece of toast in the toaster takes all of 30 seconds, a minute. Slap some peanut butter on there, and that's a pretty balanced breakfast. Something else you could do is make like a big frittata or muffin tins with little mini frittatas and muffin tins. That way you can pack veggies in there. You could pack some bacon in there, put some sausage in there, whatever you like in there. You could pack it in there, make huge batch, portion it out. You're good to go. All you got to do is grab it and go, head out the door in the morning. Another one that's really easy is overnight oats. You can make a big batch of overnight oats, let it sit in the fridge. It holds really well for the week. And then you can just portion it out for yourself each morning. Hopefully those are some good recipes for the morning. I get frustrated when I don't have all the ingredients when making a meal. It happens. But the beauty of being a chef, because you're all chefs, right? You're cooking, is that you can be flexible. You can improv, right? You don't have kale, but you have spinach. Use the spinach. You don't have almonds, but you have, I don't know, walnuts. Use walnuts. It doesn't be flexible with it. It's okay that you don't have all the ingredients unless you're missing like, if you're baking something like, and you don't have, I don't know, like eggs, that might not work out well. But if you have something that's a vegetable that you like, that you can substitute for another vegetable, throw it in there. Doesn't matter. Nobody's looking. Please explain collagen powder. Okay, so collagen powder is it is a powder. There's a brand called Vital Proteins. If you've ever been to like Whole Foods or they're probably at Wegmans and all these places, they probably have them as well. That is a powder that is protein powder that is really good for things. We have collagen in our body naturally, so it comes from things like cows, and they get it from fish sometimes too. But it's really good for your hair, really good for your skin, your nails, your joints, and it's a really good source of protein. So it's a really easy way to add. A lot of people add it into their coffee or their smoothies because it dissolves really well, and it's just a good little protein boost. Let's see. Make it sound so easy. It's not easy. It's just you have to kind of create new habits, right? You have to realize what you're doing first, become aware, be mindful of the habits that you have, and then start to make little incremental changes. Like maybe you're not eating protein in the morning. Add a little collagen in your coffee and you got a little protein in there. And that's a really simple way to start changing your day from the beginning. So it's about these little tiny incremental changes. And that's actually what we're going to talk about next time in 2 weeks. Let's see. Is 1200 calories really the recommended calorie? No. For like a 3-year-old. No. For calorie counter, is it based on weight? So yeah, 1200 calories. I know it's like we all hear like you should be eating 1200 calories, you should be eating 1500. No, 1200 calories. I will tell you. I don't. Again, I don't know you. I don't know your story, but I am going to assume that 1200 calories is not enough calories for you. So when you start to eat too little calories, a lot of things can start to happen. Your metabolism can slow down. Like this is a whole topic in and of itself. But I would say, just to answer your question, is 1200 calories enough? I'm going to say most likely for you not, but again, I don't know you and I don't know your story, but probably it's not enough. What do you mean by high calorie foods? High calorie foods in what context? Give me a little bit more about that one. High calorie foods are just foods that are really packed with a lot of nutrients, a lot of calories, things like nuts, avocado. These all have, a good amount of calories in them. It doesn't make them bad. It just means, you're getting more calories per gram for those foods than you would say a piece of fruit. Hopefully that answers your question. Anybody else have any other questions? Anything from last week that we didn't cover? I think I got to everything. I think that was it. All right, well, if there's no other questions, thank you so much for having me. Please come back again in 2 weeks because we'll do the final part of this series. And if you guys have any questions in the meantime, remember to ask me next time. I would be happy to answer those questions as well. So thank you so much for having me, and I'm excited to see you all next time.